welcome. We are doing a little showcase special. My name is Miss Candace Lee, and we are doing a little special of showcasing practitioners, coaches, hypnotherapists, everybody like that within the holistic alternative medicine field to kind of just bridge the gap of different industries coming together and connecting, and also bridging the gap between connection and community. Again, my name is Miss Candace Lee. I am the creator and owner of Sacred Healing Spaces, and I am your host for this little special. And the intention going forward is just whoever is in here wanting to listen to kind of just be open and receptive to what you are listening and watching. The goal is to broadcast and showcase different practitioners and coaches alike to show what they are doing in the industry and showcasing all that they do within their field. So without further ado, I would like to welcome on Coach James, and he is going to share all that he wants to share within today.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Candace, thanks for having me.
Of course, welcome in. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah,
And how are you?
beautiful. What?
I always said, how are you? How are
I'm
you?
doing good. I'm doing good. It's a little bit stressful moving and doing all of this, but it's fun to join in and do something new and exciting in the process of it all. So, James, tell me a little bit more about you, who you are, and what you do.
All right. So I'm a nutrition coach. I primarily studied through precision nutrition, but I wasn't always there. My story actually started back. I used to do healthcare, so I was a pharmacy technician, and I put about 7 years of my life into that. Um, Most recent position held was in a hospital. I was a part of Banner Boswell, yeah, pharmacy in the emergency department. So a lot of times, I was one of the first faces the patient would see, you know. And my job just involved taking a list of the medications that they were on at home, and it was legitimately just making sure they stayed on those medications as they were in the hospital. But the problem with me was I just saw a lot of the same problems over and over again, like blood pressure, diabetes, patients stuck in bed that needed help, they couldn't get to the restroom by themselves, and like all in all, like just the same chronic illnesses and struggles throughout their stay. It's just over and over, same patient, same case, same story. Um, so like I started becoming uncomfortable with my job. I started not really liking what I do. I didn't feel fulfilled because I wasn't qualified to help these people in the way that I wanted to. I just did what I did and I kept my head down. Felt like that's what life was supposed to be. When I got there initially, I thought that getting a part of the hospital was, I made it as a pharmacy tech. That was it for me. But just like experience just showed me that that's not the case. So this was day in and day out my story every day until I met this 103-year-old lady who was just so full of life and just aware and alert. She was light at her feet. She could tell me all the stories. She could tell me everything she took. And honestly, she had a very short list of medications. Nothing was prescription. And so, like, I handled the interview as I should. But at the end, I broke that professional role, and I was like, you know what? Like, can I talk to you for a little bit? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. What do you do? I don't see people so full of life like, as you are. Like, what's the secret? What's happening? And she kind of just told me everything I needed to hear at that moment. She's like, well, it wasn't super hard for me. I just never stopped eating right and moving my body. I never stopped exercising. I get out, I walk, I eat this, and this, and I just take a couple of vitamins. And it's weird to say that one experience just kind of like sealed the deal for me, put the whole puzzle together. But that's exactly what happens. It showed me that I didn't want to do pharmacy. I didn't want to work in healthcare and help people as they were sick. I wanted to catch people before they ever got to that place in the first place. So that was the whole turning point for me, and I put myself in school immediately. And I went through nutrition. I went through health, like actual health, holistic nutrition, and it just came down to understanding what we need to prevent those things from ever happening in the first place. that makes sense.
Wow, that's amazing. That's such a huge shift to have happen within you within just meeting someone, right? Sounds like she was like the perfect little seed to help you grow into the next phase of your life. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like, it was kind of, I was collecting all the gasoline, and she just added the spark to the fire. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
beautiful. I love
Yeah, at the
that.
end, it helped me realize that I just want to help people build that healthy relationship with the food, skyrocket their health, maybe even fitness and stuff by taking those small actions that turn into big habits that lead to those lasting consequences.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful. Yes, we have such a society right now that is eating in such unhealthy ways and habits to where we're not really realizing the detriment that it's having on our body and our minds and our souls, right? And yeah, I just feel like what you're doing is amazing. So tell me a little bit more about, what it is you do within your practice and what you're wanting to do with the people that you're wanting to help.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So honestly, it's just because, as you said, we have this huge amount of people that are eating certain ways. I think honestly, it started back in school for us. We were given the food pyramid when we were in school, and then
Mhm.
before any of us ever graduated, they took it away, which kind of left us, struggling to figure out how to eat. And with like all of our lives, it becomes so busy. It's become about convenience and like what can we do to fix this problem now. Cooking has become so tough. The amount of awareness that we have around our choices are kind of out the window. So my job primarily is to build that awareness and
Yeah,
to build education around just the topics and stuff because we can't fix something we don't really know. You know, if we're not aware of the
right.
problem, we're never going to fix it. So
So with
primarily, it's
that,
just
sorry, I
good.
apologize.
Yeah, primarily it's just
So
raising that awareness around it and start there.
yeah. So with that food pyramid that you were talking about, you said in the 1990s when we all came out. Has it changed since then? Do you know anything on the regulations or terms, or not terms, but the regulations within that?
Yeah, no, I know it was useful for like a guideline on how to eat, and some of that stuff still stays true. Like eat some of this, eat some of this. But all in all, that whole concept that they used, they just trashed it. It's not even, you know, usable anymore.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit, but it hasn't changed in the direction that it needs to. It's changed just drastically, but it's definitely something that needs to be figured out and switched in so many ways.
Right, and scientists push this in the direction of recognizing the food groups more along the lines of being categorized as macronutrients. So to to figure out how the body eats or needs the fuel and whatnot, it's about protein, carb, carbohydrates, and fats you're getting. You know, so it's less about eating that candy. It's less about eating that bread and whatnot, and more about like what fits into those categories. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Just like kind of diving into it a little bit. Just like the ideas around it are so vague that it kind of just honestly leaves us trying to figure out how we're going to eat and what happens, and it kind of brings us around to the topic of like why we gain weight, what's happening, and how to stop it from happening. So honestly, it kind of just comes down to like, or as I was saying a second ago, just like being aware and understanding what's in the food and whatnot. If I'm, normally when I bring a client in, they eat how they eat, and I kind of meet them where they're at and understand what it is that they know. And it's not long before I have them, just taking pictures of their foods, sending it with me, sharing it with me, so that I can like coach them on it. But roughly in that first month, literally we just basically practice like the most basic things. They're sharing their foods with me and they're just being aware of what their choices are, which has them thinking, you know what, I actually know more of what I need to know, and I just didn't know that I knew all these things. Because if someone's sitting there watching you, they're like, hey, I'm gonna grade you on the paper, and they're watching you take a test. If that's your teacher, you want to get that A. you want to get that 100%, you know. So like if it's the topic of trying to get the health aligned, and you got someone there on your corner side by side with you, you're sharing your food with them, you're making these better choices because intuitively we kind of know what it is that we need, but with convenience and the struggle and busy, like being busy all the time, we just lean towards making those convenient choices. So it kind of flips the whole game, you know.
Yeah, it's all about, disciplining yourself and giving yourself still the grace, right, in between
Right.
it all. You mentioned intuitive eating, and I love that topic. I absolutely love intuitive eating. I think it's such a beautiful piece to um, how we approach eating and food. I personally am an intuitive eater, and am very intentional. As there's sometimes where like I will be like, ooh, let's do certain foods because they mean certain things, and like, but I go super woo woo spiritual into it. But what was I trying to go with that? But with intuitive eating, it's so important because it brings such an awareness to yourself as well as your body. And I love that you're doing that with your clients, because that's so beneficial for people right now, especially just giving them the awareness can create such a switch within them.
Absolutely. And I would say that a lot of people, could benefit from this in general because we kind of know what it is. Our bodies give us cues all the time. They will let us know if eating this, we feel good. And if eating this, we feel bad. So we have the keys to the puzzle already. It's literally just pulling that thread on the sweater and trying to watch it all unravel because on the other side of that is you know, your choices connecting with your body or whatnot. And
Absolutely.
a lot of times I would feel that people don't know how good they can feel because they never felt their best
Mhm.
unless they take some awareness around the topic.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. So, to help me dive in a little bit more on like why we gain weight and how can we kind of stop it from happening.
Oh yeah, okay. So usually why we gain weight, honestly, is because if we're not, I'm going to say this word a lot, but aware. If we're not really being aware of the choices we're making and we're just
Mhm.
eating for convenience, there's a lot of calories that are trapped in our foods that we don't really see. Such as if we're going to get um, let's say chicken. Like everybody knows if they're in the fitness industry and stuff, like chicken's a good source of protein. But if you're gonna go for a wing stop, if you're gonna go for a fast food choice, a lot of times like you are getting that protein, yes, but you're getting also a heavy carb source and you're getting a lot of fats from them being fried, right? So when it comes down to eating, just understanding what's in our food is literally the key to fixing it. And a lot of times, the reason we're gaining weight is because there's all these extra calories that we're getting, and we're not really sure, how it's affecting us until it's a problem, right? So, a lot of times when I've been working with the clients, for example, I had this one lady who we didn't change anything, right? We just started introducing just water into her day, and we slowly started to replace soda with some water, and we started having her look at her foods without changing anything she ate. She just started becoming like adding more of the like good stuff that we should have to our bodies.
Right.
She dropped about 10 pounds in that first month,
Wow.
and it's the little things that add up, the little choices that make the big picture, and just finding out what those might be. It's never about really 100% removing those bad options or what people would call bad. I don't like to agree with like there's good foods and bad foods. I just say there's better and worse choices depending on the context of our goals, right? So right, so thank you. And so by just like adding more of like the better foods, it would edge out some of those convenient choices. And at the end of that first month, 10 pounds are just gone, and she doesn't feel like she's done anything different. So honestly, just like the reason that we gain weight, just to like make it simple, is just because we're eating extra calories that are hidden in our foods, and just understanding what those foods are made up of is the way to just kind of like measure and govern how much is going into our bodies, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. It makes so much sense. We are a generation, not a generation, we're a society that loves to overconsume in multiple ways, not just with food, but with TV, with media, with anything. But I digress. We're not talking about any of that. But so yes, I definitely can see where all of that fits into play with what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about what your viewpoint is and your perspective is on diet plans.
Oh, I have a very low opinion of diets. Just from like personal experience, from a lot of people I love and care about, and the science behind them. I think that they have good intentions, right? So like let's talk about Weight Watchers, and let's talk about like Jenny Craig or anything that used to be the standard for weight loss. The problems with a lot of diet plans is they're so restrictive that we get into this habit of thinking that the only way to lose weight is to be miserable, and so it's associated with such a bad feeling, and it doesn't have to be a bad feeling, but that's kind of how we adopted it. So it's like Weight Watchers. If you want to lose this weight, you got to be miserable. You're gonna hate the whole experience, but you're gonna love the way you look at the end. It doesn't necessarily equal health. Someone I know very well, honestly, went through Weight Watchers themselves, and there was a crazy amount of weight loss. Like I would say, it was amazing. But we, as just people, see a healthy outside and think that that equals health. The inside of this person was honestly, unmanaged to almost it was an extreme degree,
Yeah.
And she developed gastritis, so she couldn't eat. She woke up every morning and just vomiting. She couldn't keep any food down, and restricting food for so long destroyed her gut health.
Yeah.
And in turn, that was the price to pay for this method. So a lot of diet plans, unfortunately, will do the same thing. It will restrict. It will create a negative experience with food. It'll create unhealthy food relationships, destroying gut health, all for the sake of weight loss.
Yeah.
And and that's just it. It leaves us with the lasting impression that we apply that towards everything in life. So like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do this plan. It worked for me in the past, and I got results. But I'm hesitant to start it. And why is that? And so if we dive into it, it's because there's such a negative experience surrounding the whole thing that it's just, it just makes it unsustainable. It's a thing you did, but at some point you stopped. Why is that? And it's such a powerful thing because how we feel about the experience, it'll it'll either encourage us and push us towards doing it again, to repeat it and to keep it going, or we'll just cut it off.
Absolutely.
And that's just where diets start and end. They're just point blank, they're not sustainable.
Yeah,
Whereas
it's
like a dialed in nutrition plan, holistic nutrition, giving your body what you need, and like getting more of those better foods, you can see.
Oh, James, I think I lost you for a moment. Oh no, we've lost our guest. I'm going to double check and see what is going on with that. So pause for a moment while I figure that out. Bear with me, everybody. And if you guys are still in the live and still watching, you can definitely add a comment into the comment section if you want to ask a question to James or myself for him so that he can answer any questions that may be present for him at the end of this little special. Are we back? Welcome back.
I think I'm back.
Oh no! Wait. Okay, let's put you back in. So we were kind of just talking about, your view and a perspective on diet plans or diets and what you feel about those. And I kind of wanted you to kind of dive in a little bit on what the alternative is for that.
Am I back?
Yes. Did you hear?
All
Can
right,
you hear
perfect.
me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I
Internet
say,
trouble. Sorry.
no, that's totally okay. Hey, it happens.
Mm,
We are human beings trying to work through electricity at the same time. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that's okay. I don't know where I was trying to go with that. Um, but we were talking about how your opinion and perspective on diets and what your output is, not output, but what your perspective is on that. And now I wanted you to kind of dive a little bit deeper on your perspective on what the alternative is to that. The
okay,
alternative.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, with holistic nutrition in comparison to the diet plan or the diet plans, you can begin to be so in touch with your body that you become your greatest weapon. You are, you know, you're connected mind and body, right? You're building this awareness around what you're eating. You're listening to your cues. It's similar to maintaining a car. If you've got this car and it should be taking premium gas and you're putting in unleaded, that engine is not going to last that long because it's not getting the premium fuel. It's not getting what it is that it needs. So beginning to understand how this works for the body is you decide that you want to maximize your vitality in life. You want to make sustainable results for the long term health. That will never happen unless understanding these foods work best with me. These foods would bring health and prioritizing choices like this. But the fun part about all this is that it's not doing something that you don't enjoy. It's not doing something that is so restricted that it's unfun, and it's not like cramming yourself into this box because nutrition is not about a cookie cutter approach. It's about finding what works for you as a person and making that line up with your life as closely as possible to develop a new lifestyle that you can enjoy to give you the ultimate benefits, which is you're rewarded with your health for that. If you're in fitness, you're rewarded with like such gains. You can maximize your muscle growth and optimally lose weight. And this will you will be learning things that you can rinse and repeat to the point where you will never need a diet plan. If that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely makes sense. We definitely need to live a lot more holistically when it comes to our nutrition. We live in such a world where most of our foods are being riddled with chemicals, and to live a world and lifestyle for yourself that's more holistic and brings you more awareness with an intuition for your body is very beneficial for not only yourself but for others around you. If it's not just yourself living in the home, like your family or kids or friends or whatever the case like that. It looks like James did get cut off out again. So I'm going to pause this for just a second. My little one did just wake up. So bear with me 1 second, guys. I will be right back. Yeah, so James is having some technical uh, problems at this moment, which is totally okay. So I wanted to, let's see. Let's see. I'm just tuning in with James, so bear with me, everybody. Hello, hello. Yay! That is okay. It is okay.
We can clip
So,
those cutouts, right?
that's okay. Don't worry about it. So, tell me a little bit about, what it what it is about, gut health and, creating that balance within your body.
All right, yeah. So gut health honestly plays the most important role in our body bodies because our health starts at our stomach. A lot of people would say, like, based on like an anatomical look, that is our second brain because that connects our endocrine system and our nervous system all at once. So a lot of times when you say I got a gut feeling, it's because you feel it in your stomach first. Now, as far as like the health portion and stuff, your gut is home to a lot of microbiota, which is pretty much the bacteria in your stomach that helps you digest the food and just helps create this ecosystem in your stomach. It also consists of good and bad bacteria, and to manage that is very important because if the bad bacteria ever take over, you're in for a ton of health consequences, such as when the bad bacteria take over, that's when we start feeling less than our best. We start feeling sleepy, like it starts taking over. We start getting sick, we'll get the cold, we'll get the flu and whatnot. So honestly, our whole health starts with how well we're taking care of our gut. And to make sure that we can keep that up, it requires a good balance of probiotics and prebiotics to make sure that we're keeping up with the constant source of bad bacteria that are entering our body. Because our first sense of defense when it comes to doing anything oral is always going to be in the stomach. So we're eating food. Yes, it's going to be cleaned and most of the bacteria are taken out and cooked in the process, but some will always get inside. You know, so to be able to balance out the prebiotics and probiotics, normally it would come down to figuring out what foods those would be first. And as far as like a good source of prebiotics, you could find those in high fiber foods such as broccoli, celery, carrots, and whatnot. And the reason that would be important is prebiotics serve as the food for your probiotics. And the probiotics, if they don't get that food, they just can't live, right? But the probiotics are going to be what's important to make sure that we're balancing the gut health in general. And that can become, you know, very as important, if not more important, than the food that the probiotics eat themselves. So if we're looking for sources for that, you can find those in yogurts, like kefir or fermented foods like sauerkraut. So honestly, that comes down to balancing our whole health altogether. Just our gut health is where everything begins.
I love that. I love gut health is very beneficial and important to our bodies because it is linked to so many parts of ourselves. So when it comes to, holistic nutrition, what what I was trying, my question's gone. That's okay. It wasn't important. Um tell me a little bit more about kind of what a typical session looks like for you and your clients.
That honestly it varies in
Yeah.
between like if a client's just beginning or if a client is going, when they're coming in for like their 17th meeting. Typically when I take on a client, I have them commit to 4 months to begin with because when it comes down to what it is that you get when you work with me, it's never going to be a cookie cutter approach, and I'll never be able to teach you everything you're going to need to know within that first month. So about 4 months, you'll be able to have a good grasp of the basics that takes. Then at the end of our time together, that you'll be able to apply this to your life because this will never end. Like this knowledge and education that you've obtained and that connection with your body, you're never going to be able to forget that unless you just, you decide it wasn't for you, right? So that first session, what I'll do is a client will typically, when they sign up with me, I will send them an intake and it'll go through all these questions and ask you height, weight, your goals, you know, why it's important to you, what is it exactly you're trying to fix, and like what will it feel like after you reach that level, just really get in touch with our motivations and understanding ourselves even on the most basic amount. And then we'll go into that session and I'll begin to ask questions like, you know what, I noticed that you said that you wanted to lose this weight because your whole family's looking at you and they expect that they're going to get this what do you call it, wow, words, you're an influence to your family, right? So what does it mean to you, and why is it so important? And then you find out that they're really honestly just concerned about like the health of their kid and where their kids are going to go, because they found that as a kid their whole family was really, they never cared about their health. They became overweight, they let their health go, they ended up becoming dependent on these medications for life, so like when you really dive into it, like you get to explore and understand the minds and how it connects to your journey. And then when we tie the health into it, we figure out how we can make it sustainable for you, and we come up with that plan. It's going to be unique. It's not going to be, there's nothing like cut and paste about it,
Yeah.
and it's a very personal experience, because when I take on a client, we get to know you, and you get to know you, and we point out things, and we learn things, and we build awareness, and there's honestly no way to go back from that. Once you build that awareness, it's out of the bag. You've learned something, and that's why that experience, it takes a little time to get there, because it's not like your trainer in the gym telling you lift this weight in this way, eat this many calories. It's honestly a really connecting experience.
I love that. I love, and it's so true that once you dive in, you cannot come back from it. You build an awareness and an appreciation for yourself at the same time. I would almost say a respect for yourself once you're aware, um, at least in my
Absolutely.
opinion, to where you can't go back because you've learned the tools to be able to accomplish such amazing things for yourself or for the client in so many beautiful ways. And I really love how you are wanting to get to the root of all of these underlying issues for your clients. That's so important because a lot of what we see, in Western medicine is, not getting to the root. It's not getting to, it's just putting a band-aid on and, just trying to, get them on their way. And I really love that you've come from the Western medicine ideologies and still have the background from that to where you are now, bridging that gap as well to create kind of a balance for people. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. I would also say that that is exactly the fuel that brings me to do what it is that I do, because I see how putting a bandage on the problem will never help people get better. It'll never say the reason that you're not getting better is because, the food choices and stuff, or, these choices and these habits. It is just, all right, well, you're feeling this pain. Let me just prescribe you a medication. It's
Yeah.
kind of just like a get out of my hair type of type of approach, and I just don't really agree with that at all.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that you're doing that for your clients.
Thank you.
So, is there anything else that you want to share when it comes to what you do within your practice or your coaching business? I mean,
I think I just like to leave it on that just understanding health or holistic nutrition and stuff. It would bring you closer to having that mind body connection. That, a lot of times getting wrapped up in life, it's become so busy. We're focused on these alarms. It kind of pulls you back into the now. It kind of pulls you back into taking care of what's important. And my favorite analogy for something like this is the cup. Like if your cup is full and you're constantly pouring into other people's cups, eventually that cup's going to be empty unless you're filling it yourself, right? So the importance of taking care of business like can't be understated. Like you got people depending on you constantly. You got to get to work. You got to make the money for your family so you can pay the bills, they can eat and whatnot. But how long can we reasonably sustain that without taking a second to think about what we're doing? How long can we keep that approach up? And how long are we really going to be able to keep it up before something sets us like in our place and tells us you need to stop, and now since you didn't, you're forced to stop. A lot of times, unfortunately, when it comes to health, that means doctor's appointments, hospital, because it's gotten out of hand. So by getting what your body needs, you never need a diet. Diet is just, it doesn't have to be in the question at all. It can just be, dialing in what works for your life and what makes sense. And this could be On the go choices. This could be, setting up with recipes and whatnot. This could be setting up with just like tools and tips and tricks on how to make meal prepping and food and stuff easier. But this would be the difference between just going through the motions, like drained and miserable throughout the day or at the gym, and getting highly targeted performance with your body and mind in tune with every movement, or improving the quality of life to ultimately look and feel better and feel our greatest as we age. There's not any specific right or wrong way to eat. It's just, kind of getting more of what makes sense to prolong our health. But you never really have to get rid of the fun foods. It's just about bringing that balance into it. So you want that donut, pizza, chicken, it's still on the menu. But as long as we're like adding all these other things that our body needs to keep going, we never have to take these things away. And on like a fundamental scientific level, it doesn't make sense to take it away because our body needs that balance anyway. That's how we work. So with my clients and we work collaboratively to make this happen. I find ways to fit it into your life, and your experience is completely tailored to your life. If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. So, I love that. I love that bridging. I love that you are doing this. I think it is such a beautiful piece to part of your journey and where you have come from and where you're going. And, I hope going forward that everything that you have going for yourself just continues to grow, because ultimately that's the goal. And I hope that you are successful in everything that you do. And tell everybody listening where they can reach you on social media or whatever the case. What is the best way to get in contact with Coach James?
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so my primary contact method is going to be through Facebook. You can find me at James Harmeyer, last name spelled Harm as in Michael, Eyer. I'm also on Instagram at Alpha Anabolic Nutrition. That is just my whole name there. And then you can also email me at alphaanabolicnutrition@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And I'll be sure to add that into pieces when I post them as well. So I'll get that information from you so that it is posted on the YouTube episode that it will be on, so that people can reach you that way as well. And let's see. I think all we pretty much got into this into comment wise was someone read a super good book called Intuitive Eating: An Anti-Diet Approach, which sounds like an amazing book. Do
Sounds
you
good.
have any do you have any recommendations on books when it comes to the nutrition field?
As far as books, I haven't had a chance to dive into too many books written by others, but I can recommend that if you go onto Google and type in anything from precision nutrition, honestly, they have so many intuitive ways to eat. They have tips on how to hack your sleep, like how to make sure you're in the proper position to do this, how to hydrate more effectively, how to eat more effectively, how to dial in on what it is we should be eating and whatnot. So literally everything, start to finish, you can find something a part of that website.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think the only book that I know of, because I studied a little bit of holistic nutrition, but nothing extensive, just basics. And I think the one book that I would recommend would be The Science of Skinny, and it's all about it talks a lot about what you've been talking about today, and then it
Mhm.
talks a lot about intuitive eating and bringing awareness to it all. So
Okay.
that would be, I know someone was asking in TikTok any book recommendations, so that would be the only one that I would have for that in the nutrition field. And
I'm gonna
then
make myself a note.
James, you mentioned Google and precision nutrition, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Precision nutrition.
Beautiful. Well, I thank you so much, James, for coming on here and being a part of this little special that I'm doing. I love bringing people into this community and watching them thrive. So I appreciate you being a part of it.
I appreciate you so much for having me. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tune in next time. We are going to be doing another session here in a couple weeks. I'm going to be moving, so it's going to be probably a couple weeks until the next one. But the next one, I'm going to be interviewing a massage therapist. So it should be interesting to hear all about what she has to say within that. Thank you again, James, so much for being a part of this special. And thank you everybody who was present during this podcast special, whatever I'm calling it, because we don't know yet. But I thank you for being present and being a part of this. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.